This is Talk of the Nation. I'm Neil Conan in Washington. As a budding comedian, Russell Peters worked the comedy circuit in his native Canada, sure, Toronto and Montreal, but as often in Kamloops, Calgary, or Medicine Hat. Then, with the help of fans in cyberspace, he became a worldwide phenomenon. Peters works to sold-out audiences across the globe, including Australia, India, and the Philippines. He broke a comedy show box office record in the UK. He's the first South Asian to sell out the famous Apollo Theater in New York and performed in front of a sold-out audience at Madison Square Garden. His specialty is what some might call ethnic humor. He plays on the edgy line of all kinds of cultures, especially his own, with dead-on accents.
But it's true, the whole world's mixing, you know, and eventually everybody will look the same. But I'm thinking if we're all going to mix anyway, let's start mixing people now that would never normally mix. Just to see what we'll get. You know, hook up a Jamaican with an Italian. They could have little pastafarians, you know. I'm Indian. I could hook up with a Jewish girl. We could have little Hindus. Get a woman from the Philippines, a guy from Holland, little jalapenos. Guy from Cuba, a woman from Iceland, little ice cubes. A French and a Greek, freak. German and a Newfie, little goofies. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. We might as well help it along. I used to go with a Chinese girl. It was wicked going out with a Chinese girl. Can you imagine if her and I had gotten serious? Can you imagine that wedding? You know how much rice would have been at that wedding? Nobody would be allowed to throw it at the bride and groom. Our parents would just freak out. What the hell are you doing? You're wasting the food. I told you not to invite white people to the wedding. They throw the bloody food around. Let's go to their weddings and throw mashed potatoes at them.
Hey, if you'd like to talk with Russell Peters about his comedy and life in the comedy business, give us a call. Our phone number is 800-989-8255. Email us, talk@npr.org. You can join the conversation on our website. That's at npr.org. Click on Talk of the Nation. We'll also get questions from the audience here in Studio 4A. Later in the program, Bruce Campbell joins us from Miami. He's a co-star in the cable TV series Burn Notice and the star, director, and producer of My Name is Bruce. But first, Russell Peters joins us in Studio 4A. This year, he celebrates 20 years in stand-up. His latest DVD is entitled Red, White, and Brown, and he's currently on tour across the U.S. and Canada. Russell Peters, thanks very much for being with us today.
Why, thank you.
An extraordinary moment today. We had the President of the United States addressing the Muslim world from Cairo. It's something that very few of us can relate to. But you've done things like that. You've addressed...
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's such a big deal. And they're like, he's in Saudi Arabia. I'm like, I was in Bahrain. It's next door.
You've addressed audiences in places like Dubai and, as you mentioned, Bahrain. Do you see yourself as a cultural ambassador of any sort?
No, not at all. I just do what I do. You know, you got to understand that I never came up going, I'm going to change the world. I was just like, I just want to make people laugh. I don't really care who they are as long as they laugh.
But in our culture, we've accepted that culture of all sorts. Jazz, of course, is seen as a cultural export of the United States. Do you see comedy as a cultural export too?
It depends, you know. Stand-up comedy, yes, you know, but comedy in general could come from anywhere, and different countries have a different sensibility to comedy, and that's why certain films and comedians don't translate in other countries. And I think coming from Canada is the perfect hybrid of where you should be if you want to cross around the globe. I mean, we think like Americans, and at the same time we think like British people because we're part of the Commonwealth. So we sound like you and think like the Brits, you know, and our sensibilities we understand both.
And when things get tough, you just hold up your passport.
Yeah, when it's a hostage situation, hold up a Canadian passport, you're good. Apparently they're bulletproof.
Do you change your act where you're going, various places in the world?
You have to change, you know, certain things. Certain references will change. You know, you always got to figure out who they don't like, and that's the bad guy. You know, when you're in the Middle East, you learn that the rest of the Middle East thinks Saudi is the bad guy. And so all you do is make jokes about Saudi over there. Unless you're in Saudi, then you're dead. Then you make jokes about everything but them.
There was we caught your act last night at the Improv here.
And I apologize.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. But I want to say you told me.
Hold on a second. Pretty good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. You told a very funny story, though. You were in Amman, Jordan, and you get a call from the palace.
Yes. King Abdullah gave me a call. He turns out he was a fan. And it's true. The King of Jordan called me in my hotel to tell me that he's a fan, and that him and his family sit around and watch me on YouTube. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm getting downloaded by the king. I'm getting royally screwed out of royalties here.
What did the king? Did he come and see your show?
No, he called to apologize for not being able to come to my show. Like that was going to be the reason that I would. He called to apologize. I've never met the guy. He just called. He was like, I can't make it to your show. And I'm like, I was going to call you about that, but
what do you call the king?
I called the king man. I did. I can't call another man. Here's the thing. He's a man, and I'm a man. I'm not calling another man your majesty or your highness. It's just, no. It's all mediumness in my world. So it's like, he was like, I can't make it. I'm like, that's too bad, man. Justy.
Would you do the same if you met Queen Elizabeth?
Yeah, I would be like, hello, ma'am.
Ma'am, there's your mother coming back.
Yeah, I'm like, hello, Miss Queen. I don't think I could do it. Even if I met the president, I'm like, man, because this president, everybody feels like they know him. That's the thing with Barack Obama. Everybody feels like they know him. So I don't even know if anybody would be like, Mr. President. They'd be like, man, can you believe what we're doing? Like, he's like, I'm doing it.
Let's see if we get some callers in on the conversation. Our guest is Russell Peters. 800-989-8255. Email us talk@npr.org. And we'll begin with Davel. I hope I'm pronouncing that rightly. It's in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah. I was wondering what inspired you to get into comedy, and specifically ethnic comedy.
Actually, I'm in radio. I guess you were aiming that question to Russell.
No, that was you. That was you, Neil.
Yeah.
When I think ethnic, I think Conan.
The other Conan, no doubt.
Well, the thing, I just was a big fan of comedy growing up, like listening to comedy records. Yeah, I said records. And, I would buy Steve Martin records and George Carlin and Cheech and Chong. I used to listen to Cheech and Chong and had no clue they were talking about drugs. Like, I had no idea. I was like a kid. I just thought it was funny the way they spoke. I even bought that one record, Big Bamboo, and it came with like a giant rolling paper, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, this is dumb, and I threw it out. And I'm sure that my teenage neighbors next door were like, what are you doing?
Collector's item now.
Yeah, absolutely. But ethnic comedy, I don't know. I never really set out to do ethnic comedy. I just happened to be an ethnic guy doing comedy.
Well, you changed your act, several years in, right?
Comedy's it's ever evolving. So your act, my act will never always be the same. I mean, I'm sure, from what it was to what it is now, it's evolving again. It's just a slow evolution for me because I really don't want to let my fans down. You can't just go, look, all right, I get what you like, but here's what I like. It doesn't matter what you like. You gotta lead people to where you want them to go slowly. I mean, if you take a girl to your house, you can't go, hey, look at my bedroom. You gotta be like, hey, look at the kitchen, look at the living room. I have an elevator. Do you like that? That kind of stuff. I really do have an elevator in my house.
Really?
I'm excited about it.
Right.
I just take it sometimes for no reason.
You ever get stuck in it?
No, but there's a phone in there if there's a problem.
Davel, thanks very much for the call.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Let's go next. This is Eric. Eric calling from Lansing, Michigan.
Hi there.
Hi there.
Hi.
Thanks for having me on. I had a question in regards to, I'm just a white guy from the Midwest. Is it ever appropriate for just a white guy to do race-based humor?
It's not really. It's not about what you are. It's about what your motivation is when you're doing it.
Right.
I mean, if you're doing it just because that's what you think you want to do, but you have no solid base of what you're talking about, then yeah, that's a problem. People can see through it. That's the issue with